Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss why train the Akasha letters. Well, first off, Akasha isn't just Akasha, just as fire element just isn't fire element, and air element isn't just air element, and so on and so forth. There are a variety of subvariant energies that can be trained. Now, in the context of this course, you are learning how to train the safer aspects of Akasha. There are other variants of Akashic energy out there besides the one covered in this course, but these are the ones that are safe to work with and will help propel you forward in your various meditative and yogic journeys. Now, the three letters that we will cover here are going to be the letter Y or UE, the letter umlaut O, and the letter U. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing it in this order and the reason why it's different from the order in the book. First of all, the letter Y is related to the heart and the rhythm of life. It is a pink Akashic energy and tends to be more penetrating and slightly floating rather than heavy as referred to in the classic text. This is very important because it also works with, interestingly enough, prophecy and condensation. As such, this is also one of the few Akashic letters that can be run for an extended period of time and tends to dissipate upon its own. Now we have the letter umlaut O. The letter umlaut O is interesting in that it's the letter of transformation. It's a dark orange color. It's related to alchemy and the human reproductive system, as it is largely stored in the testicles. This is also a very penetrating and heavy, if not hot, energy as well. It may in fact have a relationship to the sun. It's quite interesting. That said, for those of you who practice arts like Shishwegung or genital weightlifting, learning how to work with this energy will generate a variety of interesting experiences for you. And finally, we get to the most important of the Akasha subvariants, because it's not really a subvariant, but Akasha in its truest, most cosmic form. This is the letter U. The letter E, as most people experience Akasha, is in fact planetary or terrestrial Akasha. It's the Akasha of our solar system. As such, it is the most important to work with, initially. The letter U, on the other hand, is true Akasha or cosmic Akasha. This is the representation of Akasha in its purest form as a silver-black penetrating energy that dissolves everything. Now you have to be extremely careful with the letter U energy as it is extremely ungrounding. And it's so dissolving it can in fact dissolve away your chosen path in life and cause some developmental problems. That said, it is literally the purest form of Akasha available, and as such, you should learn how to work with it. Finally, we will discuss the letter E in this course. However, the letter E will not be performed in this course, as it has already been performed a number of times on courses on Akasha and non-dual light breathing, via the establishment of equilibrium, so on and so on. And this letter E energy is the energy most people experience, well, all people experience, when they go through something like Kundalini awakening or void awakening in the Taoist systems. So these are the reasons why you want to study the Akashic letter variants. Train hard and be well. Welcome to 60 Skills. I will now discuss the requirements to partake in the Akasha letters course. Well, first of all, you obviously have to have some experience with Akasha. Now, if you gained this through the 60 Skills curriculum by learning how to establish equilibrium, you're great. On the other hand, if you haven't been through the 60 Skills curriculum, but have been through, for example, Kundalini awakening, or if you've learned how to work with Akasha from various Hindu yogic and or Tibetan or Taoist systems, again, you're more than capable of doing this material. Additionally, you need the ability to touch subtle energy with your hands at a minimum. The other transformations into astral energy or mental energy are helpful, but not entirely necessary in the context of this course. So if you know how to do any of those things, you're good to go. Otherwise, this course can act as an initiation into these things, but I would highly recommend going through the other subvariant letter courses on fire, air, and earth before you tackle this material. Otherwise, train hard and be well. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now have a reading on the letter E from Franz Barden's The Key to the True Kabbalah. The letter E. In the Akasha principle, the letter vibration will unite the Kabbalist's normal consciousness with the omniconsciousness or cosmic consciousness. And in the corresponding oral traditions, it is called Nirvikalpa Samahati. Mental. In the mental kingdom, this will call forth the highest form of intuition and allow for the universal transference of consciousness. In this state, there is no perception of time and space. Astral. In the astral body, the letter E represents control of the astral consciousness, whether of oneself or others, and it will develop an exceptional clairaudience. Additionally, it will allow for the understanding of all language of all animals and the acoustic perception of the remotest past, present, and even future. Material. The profoundest mysteries of materialization to condensation and dematerialization to refinement are revealed by this letter. The condensation of the letter vibration gave existence to everything material. Everything material may be transferred back into its refined and most subtle form as well. Now from initial experiences with the Kabbalah. The letter E, dark violet color. Mid-high pitched tone, as in a as in hat, an almost Olmish type sound. Sensation of all penetrating the spine. Kasha, omniconsciousness, cosmic consciousness, mental, intuition, astral consciousness, astral matrix, physical, material, materialization, dematerialization. First session, 25 Akashic, 85 mental, and 548 astral recitations. I project from the Akasha into the Akasha at the astral level. How this transpired and why it did not happen occurred previously, it is difficult to explain. I suspect this may have something to do with the intention, but it may also have to do with the ritual or nature of the work I am currently performing. It may be as simple as opening a progressive series of locks. I am unsure what this means. I project into the scene from the Temple of Saturn that I had previously explored using a flashing talisman. This is a vaguely classical ruin of pillars in a circle on a cliff overlooking a sea. All the waters and dirt have a dark purple hue to them. The rest of the climate appears to be fairly dry and Mediterranean. The sun emits a dark purple light and the sensation of energy is deeply penetrating. The sensation is akin to 1,000 cold needles penetrating the body all at once. It is not painful, however. For the first time in this place, I see a figure clearly. The guardian takes the form of an old man in death's cloak. This is surprising, not disturbing. He shows me blank. He says this marks someone as a blank or someone who blanks. He mentions their lives are difficult as they must experience and to a degree master the paths of all of the other archetypes of man. That mastery qualifies them to blank. Next, he shows me how to strengthen the astral matrix. He breathes more material into it using the energy of this letter and then reinforces this with vitality. The vitality merges with the material and turns it into the tissue of the astral matrix. Watching this is terrifying but somehow fascinating. To see something come into form out of nothingness is a true act of creation. At the edge of the ruin, a ball sits on top of an old doorway pillar and emits the dark purple light that fills this place. Additionally, everything here has a slightly dreamy or foggy look to it. Greer mentions this is due to Saturn being the last stopping point before duality ceases to exist. It is a point to meditate upon. The Guardian goes on to mention that the waters below dissolve or remove desire, and it is where the souls of the newly dead are sent to bathe. An interesting parallel to the Greco-Roman myth, I surmise. Next, we go down to the beach and play checkers. Afterwards, we sit in chairs by the beach and sunbathe to take in more energy. While this is going on, I watch the wildlife in the waters. Finally, we shake hands. He agrees to remain invisible while I generate this energy. We finally discuss the role of free will and blank. Then I depart and return to my body. Practice advice in the letter E. The letter E represents Akasha in Buddhist circles, ether in Western Hermetics, and the power of the void as a matter of fact. All other elements, letters, or things can be brought forth from this energy if properly supplied. As the power of the void, it represents the roaring chaos extant prior to creation. The letter E and the planetary forces of Saturn also have a special relationship as well. The letter E has a pull back to the physical that makes some of the other Akashic letters lack. This makes it less dangerous in some respects. One particular danger does bear mention. Frequent practice of this letter will result in the practitioner engaging in astral projection while sitting or lying quietly. This is different from the New Age definition of the term, which is essentially mental wandering. True astral projection involves the ejection of the astral body from the physical. When this occurs, the body enters a state of suspended animation, the rate of breathing and heart rate essentially stop, and the body becomes quite cold. At this point, if anything contacts the body, be it a friend, family member, housefly, or cat, the practitioner dies. The official ruling is usually heart attack. When returning to the body, everything will hurt and the body will be very cold. Only do this in a locked room with sealed windows and no pets. It is, however, how you control the time of your own death, and is, as such, an important skill to learn. One of the most common uses of Akasha is to banish non-physical entities from this world back to where they come from. Technically speaking, these entities are not destroyed, but from what I understand, it is very difficult for them to return to this plane without a direct intervention from another person. When this occurs, a vacuum or popping sound is generated, as that thing is literally ripped out of creation. That said, some things can resist the power of the E directly, and if used upon them, they will be quite irate. The combined force of the letter E and N, however, can defeat these creatures as well. Look at my commentary on the letter N for more information on this. Also, the Akasha-derived letters are draining on the vital energy of a practitioner. While strength can be built over time, and combining the letter E with non-dual light mitigates this to a great degree, Akasha, by its very nature, is in opposition to life. Frequently using Akasha at the level of the solar plexus gradually robs a practitioner of their ability to care about anything. Frequent use of this letter at the level of the energy center above the head, i.e. the Akashic level in general, turns a practitioner into a renunciant or saint. Akasha is also slightly narcotic in nature. Falling into its influence for a time seems to be common with most practitioners, and as such is one of the few ways to build strength at this. When this occurs, the practitioner will eventually drop out of energy when their vital force bottoms out. Afterwards, the temptation will always be there to go back to this state when put under pressure. People with addictive personalities probably will not survive this state of affairs long. I personally lost 6 months this way, and have only the loosest memories of what transpired. The fact that I did not kill anyone while driving, get run over by a car crossing a busy street, or become homeless is a testament to loving family that heavily supported this selfish stupidity. Older practitioners often fall into the bad habit of running this energy continuously, as it masks all of those pains an active life tends to generate. I suspect this is why many practitioners simply do not live that long. Between not caring about anything and walking around with a depleted life force, death usually ensues quickly. Contemplate this carefully. Now, the letter E will not be covered in the practice sessions in this series, as it has already been covered when we generate Akasha in the other coursework. Akasha generated in the rest of the coursework, unless stipulated otherwise, is in fact the letter E. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now have a reading on the letter Y, or umlaut, U or UE, from Franz Barden's The True Kabbalah. Akasha. This is the true source of the rhythm of life. It is also representative of primordial rhythms of life and the laws of harmony or lawfulness. The mental level. This will bring back the profoundest cosmic intuition and inspiration, and may be regarded as a gift of absolute devotion to and deepest love for divine providence. Astral. The letter vibration will impart an aptitude for prophecy so excellent that it will exclude any possibility of error. The greatest prophets that have ever lived acquired their prophetic abilities via this method. Matter. When called forth in the material body, this letter vibration will generate the ability to explore, comprehend, and apply the absolute effectiveness of the Akasha principle in the material world. Thus, the Kabbalist possessing this ability is in a position to dematerialize his body and to materialize it again at great distance within a few moments. He will be able to bridge time and space over any distance, not only mentally, astrally, but materially. Many of the miracles cited in the Bible confirm what is written here in truth. Now from initial experiences with the Kabbalah. The letter Y, umlaut U, UE. The letter Y, pink, mid-tone. The book mentions penetration plus earth or heaviness. This appears to be incorrect. It is more Akasha and less earth. The sensation is also one of penetration and a floating feeling that lies close to the earth. Akasha represents rhythm, mental, intuition and inspiration, astral prophecy, physical material condensation. First session. 2 Akashic, 60 mental, and 410 astral recitations. Mental. The previous night's dream about a giant armadillo now makes sense. They are pink, earth-burrowing creatures with poor eyesight that sleep 18 hours per day. I arrive on the savannah at twilight. Pink tones line the sky and the guardian approaches. He says to come here at dark or dawn in a clean, clear, pure state. Then I can ask a specific question aloud and I am to wait. The most likely course of action will appear, sometimes with other likely courses of action. Prophecy is a reflection of the non-dual light off of all of the possible courses of action. The brightest are the most likely, but can be diverted by personal attachment. Veganism and dark occurrences, anger and conflict, and prejudices are important. Shiny things catch the eye. It's specifically important to be awake at both dusk and dawn each day on a regular basis if you were to engage in this kind of work. The Guardian also mentions that to master rhythm, I need to be awake at dawn each day. Practice advice in the letter Y, U, umlaut, or UE. The letter Y is the softest of the Akashic-based letters and primarily governs the law of rhythm within Akasha. As the heart is the organ associated with this letter, issues involving the lifespan of a practitioner also apply. As the softest of the Akashic letters, the energy is best utilized by generating it at the heart, at the energy center above the head, leading it to the heart, and then allowing it to overflow out of the heart. Unlike most forms of Akasha, it does not result in the sense of self of a practitioner disappearing when utilized. While a practitioner still needs to purge the letter Y from their system after use, this is a much easier process than normally associated with Akasha, and in general, most of the energy of the letter dissolves on its own. Use of this letter results in a floating sensation and can be worked with while walking. It tends to enhance the practitioner's self-awareness of their body and the environment on a physical level. The sensation is akin to a walking on water feeling. Unlike other Akashic letters, it is minimally draining, so it can be used for extended periods of time. Finally, at an Akashic level, it generates an understanding of how the present moment arose from the past and spreads into the future. It shows how things are mathematically predictable. At an astral level, this can manifest as an understanding of prophecy, although the letter S is generally better suited to this at the astral level. This concludes the reading. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now have a reading from Franz Barden's Key to the True Kabbalah on the letter umlaut O or OE. Akasha. In the Akasha principle, the umlaut O vibration calls forth the most profound cognition that can only be expressed through divine love. It's also known as the Kabbalistic quintessence. This allows for all the possibilities of transformation of the spirit. Mental. The umlaut O vibration will secure the perfect mastery of Kabbalistic alchemy, and you will understand the transformation of ideals, virtues, etc. by the Kabbalistic word. Astral. The umlaut O vibration develops the ability of perfect astral projection, and you are able to transform any astral vibration into the vibration you choose. Matter. This will lead to a perfect knowledge of Kabbalist alchemy in the material world. In other words, it allows the laws of transmutation to function perfectly. Now from initial experiences with the Kabbalah. The letter O umlaut OE. The letter O umlaut OE. Dark orange, high-pitched tone, U as in curd, penetration and heaviness. Akasha, transformation, mental, Kabbalistic alchemy, astral projection, physical and material transmutation. First session. 6 Akashic, 71 mental, 408 astral recitations. I arrive in a Southeast Asian forest scene during dry season. The vegetation is brown and curled with a heavy, oppressive kind of gravity. Heat is here as well, the kind that slowly sneaks up and bakes you. We discuss the role of O umlaut in astral projection. The earth aspect holds the body down, and the Akashic nature liberates and dissolves the astral body and matrix. The Akasha also protects the dormant body from spirit intrusion. This is an important letter for earth body types as they have a hard time dissolving their astral mental matrices in general. We walk down to the river and the guardian demonstrates the process of dissolving the astral matrix. I watch as a boy jumps into the river and dissolves both his. The guardian explains that when spirits or souls incarnate and realize they've made a mistake, they end up coming here. I wonder if this is an aspect of free will. The spirits do this so they can return to their source. However, karma will remain for them when they incarnate again. In some ways, this is the equivalent or perhaps worse than suicide in terms of karmic issues. Karma and Akasha are something to meditate upon in relation to one another. I thank the guardian, depart, and return to my body. Practical advice on the letter O umlaut OE. The color of the letter O umlaut is best described as a blazing orange sun seen in a sunrise or sunset. The sound is more of a humming O and sits higher in the palate, although it feels heavy. On some level, it is connected to the sun. It allows a practitioner to understand their karma, particularly their irrational, mysterious, or hard to understand karma. Frequent use results in the highest form of intuition, an understanding of the hierarchy in the earth element, and makes a practitioner highly competitive. When generating the letter, a practitioner should start at the level of the power center above the head, stream it down to the testicles, and, as it burns the perineum, allow it to flood the testicles. This acts as a reservoir of power and is best accessed by floating between pure Akashic energy and its sun or orange coloration. It's more hot in nature than earth, and this may represent another error on the part of Barden's secretary. For those who practice Shi Shui Gong, or genital weightlifting, this is also something to consider as an energy form to be practiced. This concludes the reading. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now have a reading on the letter U from Franz Barden's The Key to the True Kabbalah. The vibration of the letter U in the Akasha principle bestows upon the Kabbalists the ability to comprehend this principle in the act of creation and from the point of view of karma. Mental. The letter U vibration calls forth the highest form of intuition and inspiration in the mental body. It will make you a master of your own karma and its changes. Astral. This grants the Kabbalist the ability to transfer his consciousness wherever he pleases. Material. This allows you to understand and apply the mystery of the Akasha principle regarding matter, in the ability to comprehend the activity of the tetrapolar magnet. The Kabbalist applying the principle of ether in our material world from the magical point of view. And now from initial experiences with the Kabbalah. The letter U. The letter U, black velvet, lower tone. U as in the wind blowing and all-penetrating sensation, solar plexus centered. Akasha, comprehensive and Akasha. Mental intuition, inspiration, astral transfer of consciousness, physical material Akasha. First session, 9 Akashic, 73 mental, and 411 astral recitations. Author's note. Barden's secretary made a series of small mistakes when constructing his third book from the notes he left behind. Of the most glaring, all involve the letter U. First, the letter U is to be practiced last after all of the other letters. This is particularly important if you are practicing the 108 recitations daily of all the letters at all 4 levels of reality. Without practicing the letter U last, the series fails to lock in properly in the body, and the energy ends up leaching out in unpredictable ways. Only approach the letter U using mental energy via the mental body. The letter is dangerous in a unique manner. It purifies the matrix of the body that touches it by shattering that body and reconstructing it. If you make direct contact with your astral body, you will most likely die. As my teacher once said, first you will make contact with the mental body and then whisper into the astral or physical. Also keep in mind that long-term practice with any of the Akashic letters at the solar plexus robs you of desire and you end up caring about nothing. I have been told that long-term practice at the level of the crown above the head gradually transforms a practitioner into a saint over the long term. Read the New Testament for an appreciation of what this means in reality versus theory. Finally, you must never bring others into contact with this energy, particularly the untrained. At a base level, it activates karma strongly and generally drives other people violently insane. In short, exercise care with this or you will pay for it. First session. In the distance, I see a dark, silvery metal spire for a tower. Very little background detail exists in this place. The guardian is likewise difficult to see, and I feel as if arriving here involved passage through some kind of barrier. Perhaps my concentration is weak today. A definite relationship with Saturn is felt. I, once again, relive my prior bad acts. Frankly, this would have been disturbing had I not already dealt with this. As such, it is largely annoying and a little depressing. The Guardian goes on to show me a few different ways to dissolve the matrices for projection purposes. Some techniques also aid with insomnia or remaining awake for long periods of time. Interesting. He encourages me specifically to work more with astral projection. He says it in the context of, you never know when you will need to die. He discusses the role of karma, ether, and organ storage. The vibratory nature of this energy is slightly different than the purple Akasha I normally work with. Something about this requires the use of posture to build strength. I wonder how this can be practiced safely. Something about explosive movements or movement is mentioned as well. The role of the pancreas in fatal illnesses now makes sense. I end the meditation and return to my body. Second session. I practiced this session under the guidance of my Hermetics instructor. He was somewhat reluctant to teach me this. He had repeatedly warned me that for much of the material we were covering of late, he had not touched in the better part of 20 years. That while he could clearly show me the basics, the evolution of the material would be up to my own efforts. The disturbing nature of what happened next was probably part of his reluctance. I come crashing out of the Akasha into this silvery black material. It switches from a matte black to a shiny gloss as I go forward. I run into a wall of this material and blast through it. The hole closes behind me, and I find myself in a place that can only be described as the space between the walls of reality. This is a storage yard for horrors. Ungodly, destructive beings lie here waiting. They are sectioned off from the rest of reality in this place almost as a kind of prison, but knowing that at some point they will be released back into the phenomenal world to fulfill specific purposes before being put into cold storage again. I cannot describe in detail what resides here. How does a three-dimensional mind describe a four-dimensional object that has sentience but is not living? What is the meaning of a thing that screams with a desire to consume passion and spew destruction mindlessly? Thankfully, my time in this place is short. I punch through another wall in this world and wind up in what can only be described as the center of a black hole. I once again relive my negative acts from the perspective of those on the receiving end. However, this time I also relive my benevolent ones as well, and I become aware of something else having occurred. As I pass through the second wall, my mental matrix is shattered and reformed. In the process, all of those ideas, concepts, and desires programmed into me during life by others are removed. I have never been so free. The after effects from this, over a year later, still reverberate through my life. I will not say that this is the same as being born again, but rather being unencumbered by the restraint of others. A psychopathic individual experiencing this would become bereft of any limitations on their behavior. A great deal of information is imparted here regarding the relationship between the elements and emptiness. Much of what I see makes no sense. Clearly, this is an energy that will need to be revisited many times to understand how it is to be employed. One thing does come through though. Practice this letter last when working with all of the other letters to strip any aberrant programming from your mental matrix. I end the meditation and return to my body. Practice advice on the letter U. Letter U is the final letter and should be practiced last if practicing with more than one letter. It is the mechanism of karma. Through inspiration from this letter, a practitioner sees the causation of things. It shows how the elements are regulated by emptiness. At the level of the Akashic or etheric body, it allows the practitioner to see how energy appears and disappears out of the emptiness. At the tetrapolar level, it shows the relationship between Akasha and the four elements. At the quadrupolar level, it shows the relationship between electromagnetics and the elements. In particular, it displays how the electromagnetic energy interacts with form. It also shows how intellect modifies function at the highest form of Akasha. The letter U is literally beyond creation and must only be approached using the mental body. Possession of a physical body provides a method to escape this letter, as it has a pull or gravity that will reattach a reformed mental body to the astral and physical. In the tarot, it is represented by the universe card and brings both karma and death. While this brings an understanding of karma and what can only be described or termed as hell, exposure of others to this is prohibited. Exposing the untrained activates their karma strongly, and if performed on a group, generally results in people going crazy and killing one another. As a direct representation of primordial chaos, it defeats stasis directly. Few are properly equipped to render this judgment correctly, and as such should avoid doing this, as they will be directly responsible for a misapplication of karma at this level. Also, the risk of backlash or rebounding of the letter when used in this manner is high. This concludes the reading. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now have a discussion on the relationship between karma and Akasha. Okay, the letter E is commonly associated with the planet Saturn because this is the home of karma in this solar system. However, karma and Akasha, while not the same thing, are very closely related to one another. The biggest thing you need to understand about the power of the void, or Akasha if you will, is that it actually has the ability to dissolve karma. But that's not its purpose. The howling energy of the void, Akasha if you will, both dissolves things and allows for things to spring forth. So the problem with working with Akasha in terms of karma is that it can dissolve your boundary so much regarding karma that it dissolves away both the good and the bad. So you have to be careful how you employ Akasha relative to its relationship to karma, because contrary to popular belief, you do have good karma too, even if most people don't realize it. And excessive use of Akasha is just as capable of dissolving that away as anything else. Now there's also a relationship between the letter U and your karma in a more cosmic or universal sense, and the letter E as a version of Akasha in relationship to your terrestrial or planetary or solar system type karma. It's a bit nebulous in how it works, but it seems to be pretty important, and not something I'm going to get into a long discussion about here, because quite honestly, I just don't understand it that well. What I can say is that if you work with the letter U too much, it can be so ungrounding that you just tend to float through this existence and not get anything done. It's very disconcerting. Now, this is the general relationship between Akasha and karma. There's a lot to unpack here, and something that you personally are going to need to explore in great detail if you choose to work with these letters a lot. I will give one final warning though, in that if you only dwell in darkness, i.e. Akasha, and never bother to work with non-dual light, this seems to create some problems for magicians after their death. On a mechanical level, Akasha allows you to bend the rules of physics in this world, and the universe doesn't like this. So you end up paying a very high price for abusing the force of Akasha in the here and now. This isn't to scare anybody. It's just to remember the importance of working with non-dual light in terms of enlightenment. Dwelling in Akasha to seek power is useful, but it's not really the reason why we're here. That's what non-dual light is for. So that's a brief discussion on the relationship between Akasha and non-dual light. Train hard and be well.